One surefire, guaranteed way to successfully and effectively de-escalate a situation is to not get into a situation in the first place. But what happens when you find yourself interacting with someone and you start to sense that maybe it's just not going in the right direction? Maybe they're argumentative. Maybe they just seem to want to debate. They seem to have an agenda. You've got to have the self-discipline and self-awareness and situational awareness to recognize it's time to just break contact. Now, earlier this year, my team and I had the opportunity to work and train with the First Impressions ministry team here at my own church. And a few days later, I'm walking through these doors in the church, and Pastor Ricky walks up to me with this look on his face like, John, you're not going to believe this. Pastor Ricky, what happened?
So we had a gentleman kind of come up, and you had to understand, after a conversation for a little bit there, you recognize that he wasn't really there for an answer. He just kind of wanted to stir the pot a little bit. And so I think going into it, remembering that ace card, the first thing I was like, okay, how am I coming off to this guy? Am I frustrated already, or can I actually engage in conversation with him? And I recognized that once I was able to get in communication with him, okay, let's have a conversation. And after a while, you kind of give him the answer, and you realize that he actually doesn't want an answer from you. He wants to rile things up, and he actually wants his scene. And so after a moment, I just said, you know what, hey, this Ricky, it's time to either tap out, have someone else come in, or just to say, hey, I recognize that any answer I have for you right now just isn't appropriate or isn't something that you desire. How about you come meet with us on a different day, right? And just had to choose to remove myself from the scenario, because I recognized it as well, going back to appearance, I could seem like I'm starting to get a little short, right? And rather than letting it blow up now, let's just step away from him. So I told him, I was like, hey, right now I recognize that this answer I have for you just isn't what you want. Come back a different day where we're actually able to have a good conversation with you. I apologize, but things are going busy right now. It's not on you. We just want to make sure that we're making our due diligence with connecting with you.
Right. Now, this was happening while people were coming into church, right? So it's happening where people were stirred, and it happened about right in this area right here. Now, folks, one of the things I emphasize in my training seminars, when you allow yourself to become frustrated, impatient, or offended by someone, you increase the likelihood that you're going to be the one to end up saying or doing something that escalates the situation. And Pastor Ricky just got done saying he could sense that he was getting kind of frustrated with this guy, because nothing he was saying seemed to be connecting with him. And he wasn't loud, rude, or obnoxious, was he?
No, he wasn't.
And that's the thing, and that's the devil will get in there. Not everyone that you deal with in church ministry or with an angry client or customer or whatever is necessarily going to be a situation where they're loud, rude, and obnoxious. They could be just in a very conversational tone, be argumentative, and try to suck you down this rabbit hole where you find yourself defending yourself in a situation where you just need to let it go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had he talked to other people before he ended up talking to you?
He had talked to one of the volunteer leaders that I had over here, and they were kind of going back and forth. So I noticed, my volunteer kind of getting a little frustrated. And I said, hey, I'll step into the situation. And so once I engaged in conversation, recognized that he actually had stopped by and asked a couple different people already, even at that point. And so again, he was looking for someone who gave him the answer that he wanted, not what the answer should have been, right?
Okay, right.
And so it was one of those things where we had to realize through engagement of saying, you know what, it's not something that's going to just kind of fall away. So we just have to decide ourselves, hey, we recognize that whatever we say right now isn't going to be what you want. Please come back a different day.
And that's a great example of working together as a team. Pastor Ricky saw one of his people getting into a situation where they were being sucked down this rabbit hole. He recognized maybe he should take over the conversation. More importantly, his teammate, his shift leader, his leader, supervisor that he saw, recognized, okay, I need to just back away from this situation, break contact, and let Pastor Ricky take over the conversation. Because too many times I've seen situations escalate because someone will look over and go, you know what, I got this. Yep. Because this guy could have said that to Pastor Ricky, you know what, Pastor Ricky, I got this. And no, right?
No, he did a phenomenal job of passing it on.
Passing it on, and Pastor Ricky picked it up, ran with it as far as he could till he realized, okay, now ultimately what ended up happening? How did you guys end up resolving this?
So he ended up stepping away, and we told him, hey, come hang out and just enjoy service right now. Maybe afterwards, after that's all done, come and connect with us again. He actually he met up with another pastor, one of our executive pastor, had some conversation with him and kind of was told the same thing. Hey, buddy, we're trying to give you the answers, but nothing sufficed. And so eventually, he actually ended up coming back and apologizing to us, and
Excellent.
just apologizing for how he handled things and whatnot. He wasn't trying to be rude. He just was frustrated about something that he was kind of working through and navigating, but just appreciated the willingness, one, from all team members of saving that relationship. And one of the things that I'll say that you do a phenomenal job at is talking about ministry mindset, right? Ministry focus. We're a ministry, right? We want to make sure that people are loved on and welcome back. And you're not really loving when you grab them by the neck, or you might not physically.
I'll get frustrated.
Do that, right? Yep. But maybe even spiritually, there's like this weight over you that, hey, we just gotta let them go. We just gotta release that. So
yeah, that's a phenomenal, again, example of ministry mindset, people working together as a team. And ultimately what happened, this individual came back, apologized for his, but it took time. It took time for the seed to be planted. It took time for him to process what was going on, because sometimes you're going to deal with someone, maybe they have a mental illness or a challenge or something where they're just socially awkward and so on. They don't mean any harm. And depending on how we react and respond to that, if we allow ourselves to become frustrated, impatient, or offended, we may do more damage to the situation when they themselves actually were honestly just looking for an honest answer or an honest response or an honest dialogue. And at any point, again, any one of our ushers and our greeters at that time could have taken this in a whole different direction, but fortunately everyone recognized, hey, just break contact, pass it on to someone else, give him time to process what was already being said till it finally came together.
Yeah.
Remember your ACE, your appearance, communication, and your engagement. Remember ministry mindset. Thank you for sharing that with me. And it just shows, folks, give it time. Don't let yourself become offended, impatient, or offended by anything that someone says or does. Remember, it's another child of God who may be misinformed, may be misguided, or just maybe having a bad day.
Yeah.
Ministry mindset.
Yeah. And one more thing I might add is that it's not going to work if you don't practice it.
There you go. That's exactly right.
Come on.
We'll see you all in the next video.